it carries over. It's like you overload your system with stressors. Your nervous system doesn't really realize if it's climbing, if it's whatever is going on, social life, as a family life, and it's just getting stressed. It's like activated, and it needs to be balanced everywhere. So, long story short, it's not primarily your age, it's what you have to deal with. And so that's why it gets really important that when you want to still improve or progress in your climbing, it really needs to be efficient and effective. There is no other way around.
Martin Keller, welcome to the Testpiece podcast, man. Thanks for coming on. I know it's pretty late over there in Switzerland.
It's getting late, not as late, but I'm, used to night sessions. So, and because of my injury, I've been out of night sessions kind of. So it's
Yeah,
fun. So
yeah. I'm impressed that you can do night sessions. I remember reading some or maybe hearing a podcast where you talked about your going on the train, going climbing, and it was like 2 a.m. or being out there all night and then going back to work. And so I guess this is easy work for you. Just talking about climbing isn't that hard.
no, that's fine.
Okay, well, super quick intro just for anyone that hasn't been paying attention. Martin, you're perhaps the oldest person to send 8C plus or V16 for us in America at nearly 46 years old, which is amazing. And you are somewhat famous or maybe infamous, depending on how you look at it, for being a long-term projector, sometimes hundreds of sessions on a single boulder, even at night. And last but not least, I should mention you're also a climbing coach and you even have a quote unquote normal job teaching in university economics, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
business.
business and economics, which as we were just chatting, I actually got my degree in too, but we won't go
Yeah.
down that path. We won't, don't worry everyone. We will not talk too much about economics, although well, there's some applicable lessons there, right?
Yeah, there is actually, like efficiency and effectiveness with training and climbing. Also, but then not like on purpose. Yeah, and that would be a philosophical question where you could like tell us
My
more
other
as well.
degree, yeah.
But I think that's where it gets really interesting. Where things start to collide and
Well, I mean
uh,
that's always what happens in everything we do is you start like what makes people special and unique is grabbing concepts from all facets of life and bringing them into whatever their passion is. And I mean, I got to point out, climbing didn't used to use chalk. Like we didn't use chalk. That came from gymnastics. I'm pretty sure. God, I could be getting this wrong, but I think John Gill pulled that in from gymnastics. But yeah, okay. I don't want to get too off topic. Well, economics. Even though it is interesting, especially that behavioral side. But first of all, Martin, I'm very upset that you took away my excuse on why I can't climb V16 because I say I'm too old. Usually I'm the older guy on the podcast, talking to pros who are ticking off these climbs, and I get to tell myself, well, don't worry, Josh, it's because you're in your late 30s. That's your excuse, and you took that away from me. Yeah.
yeah, very sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it really is fascinating to me that when you were my age, so I'm 38, I guess you're 46 now. In some ways, I'm sure you were successful then, but it's hard for me to uh, wrap my head around the idea that in some ways maybe just I have another big chapter in my climbing career, and this is a topic had that we had brought up earlier. This idea of naysayers or people who tell you that you can't do something. And how I want to start that out is just pointing out that what if the naysayer is yourself? Like I really struggle with, telling myself that, oh, look at Martin, I can be just like him. I'm just starting. And so I just wanted to dive in right there and understand how you push back against anyone who told you you couldn't do something like this and then clearly prove them wrong.
Yeah, it's really good, a really good and important topic, and yeah, I see that a lot. And funny enough, there's like in all ages and all groups, there's like 20 years that feel already like, oh, I'm supposed to be already climbing this and that, and I will never get there. Then there are 30-year-old, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. So you see that everywhere. And of course, and maybe, yeah, we will touch on it later because kind of my pro tip as well. It's like, as you say, it's like an excuse. No, it's not. Of course, it's not an excuse to kind of excuse you from the like, oh, my climbing life is done. Bye bye, guys. But it certainly is an explanation. When you get older, it's not the age per se, even though, of course, you have these like physiological processes that go on. It's like your hormones maybe change, but that's whatever. It's like it's a mean. It doesn't mean it applies to you as well. It's like, oh, there is muscle loss starting whatever at which age. After 30 you lose like 1% of muscle. It's like, man, it's just, I've never been as heavy and like as muscular as I'm right now with 46. And so there is exceptions as well. And then it's just what with age comes normally is that, yes, you have like a professional life, you have or starting to have family, social responsibilities, and you maybe have different interests or different hobbies, not only climbing as you have. I mean, running a podcast, having a job, having a family, um, like to be outdoors, like skiing, everything. And then that just makes sense if you mix that all together. It's like that's a lot on your plate. So, and that's usually what makes it harder when we get older. It's that life comes into play, and sleep, the big one, because you start to pack more and more in your days. So there is less sleep, and you maybe, some people can deal, and you always see that like managers, especially, are like at this like big force. It's like, yeah, you only sleep 3 hours, 4 hours, have these 100-hour weeks, and yeah, that maybe works for some time, but eventually even those guys crash. And when you have like physical work, it's just sleep is so underrated. Or then still like this concept of like, yeah, I need to train as well, then on top. So you have a lot of stuff going on, and now you need to put training on top and everything on top, and then people start to cut off from recovery and sleep. And then it's just, yeah, but that's factor number one for physical and mental performance in the long run. So that's also what I tell my clients. And it's like, if you're like more training, more sleep, it's like always more sleep. Forget about training, It's like you see all these concepts now, a lot of people doing these double sessions and everything. It's like training twice in a day. So if I had a client like coming up to me and like told me like, yeah, you want to do hangboard in the morning, then it's like going to work, and in the evening I want to do like a board session. I was like, okay, hangboard session at 5, in the morning. It's like, oh, you go to bed at 9. I was like, no, I'm going to bed at 12. I was like, no, you don't want to do that. It's like maybe one time maybe works out, but not as a like long-term pattern, because you won't get enough rest. And it carries over. It's like you overload your system with stressors. Your nervous system doesn't really realize if it's climbing, if it's whatever is going on, social life, as a family life, and it's just getting stressed. It's like activated, and it needs to be balanced everywhere in life at one point. And if you push it too far to one side, it will backlash. And that's maybe also important. It's like, as okay, then I have these night sessions, and then I maybe go straight to work. That's not a regular week. Like, that happens from time to time, and maybe happens too often, stuff like that. But I try to balance it, and it's not a regular week. Okay, so it's really important to see that it's like not how you want to operate, and just don't do it. So, long story short, it's not primarily your age, it's what you have to deal with. And so that's why it gets really important that when you want to still like improve or progress in your climbing, it really needs to be efficient and effective. There is no other way around.
I liked how you alluded to that conversation we had before around when what I did with my economics degree was I went into a finance job where I was working 100-hour weeks. And yeah, I definitely do have more time for climbing now, even with kids, than I used to. And I just want to point out that, I joking about you being older and me being older, but the thing is that this isn't about this is not going to be a podcast about being older, because it's it takes a long time to get good at climbing. And even when you see people who are young have early success, that doesn't quite always translate. You can't look at that 12-year-old or 20-year-old who's really strong and know that they're going to be, a V16 climber. But similarly, it's hard to predict who's going to be a really good climber. I told you that story about Keenan, and I'll be on the podcast that gets released a couple before you, where it was not clear that he was going to be good. And so I think this is what's really interesting, is understanding this long-term mindset and how to make it work. And when I think about those examples of people waking up early to hangboard, I don't know about you, but even if I did it, I don't think I would bring any kind of intensity there. I don't think it would actually even be productive, even if I did somehow shove it in there. It's hard to get your mind wrapped around it. And so I guess my question is how how do you know if you're doing too much in these training sessions, or if you do have the capacity to add more? Like, is there any signs when you're on the line?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think it's really individual as well. It's um, as I said, like for some people that might work when they like get enough sleep and enough recovery, and they feel they're already like to have that kind of activity level in the morning, and they want to go that way. But then for others, maybe not. And then it's just really important to find your own way, what works for you. Like, yes, try it and see if it works or not. And if it's like a constant struggle and fight, and you feel like you're just fatigued and you're not ready to like have the intensity high enough, then it's just not worth it. So you would have to find a way how to organize everything around so it works for you. And if not, then just find another way um, to do it. And it's just generally a theme that I see, and this is everybody. It's like people are so psyched for climbing and they just love it, and it doesn't matter if it's beginner, intermediate, or a pro, and they just want to do it all the time. And I really get it. But then it's again the question of efficiency and effectiveness. It doesn't need to be that much of training volume as people maybe think, especially when it's about bouldering. It's way more about, yes, getting stronger and getting more powerful. So apply that like to the wall, like be fast, be snappy. And that kind of stuff doesn't need, the main driver is not volume, it's intensity. And you can't sustain a high intensity output over a long time when you try to have the volume super high and then even mix it with a lot of velocity. That's just a recipe for disaster, like injury long term. Of course, younger people will get away with that, maybe better because recovery is faster, all that stuff. And when we get older, we again, because there is more stuff on the plate, recovery gets harder, and this gets a bigger problem. So I think that's important, that people always think they would need to do more, need to do more, need to do more, to get better, especially when we're maybe a bit older, and to have these whatever double, triple, quadruple sessions, and then go for a run and do yoga and then stretching and whatever, mindset practice, and then no, you're not a professional, and that's the big thing. It's like when you're looking at a pro and what you can learn from them, it's not, it's like the exercises they do, it's, you can't follow Ondras or Jakob's training program. It's like that's their job. They have literally nothing else to do all week, all day long, than to focus on their training with recovery, with nutrition. It's just everything is optimized in that way. So you're not there, and you're also not doing it for 20 years. So you're training like history, like they didn't start it out, that way. That takes, as you say, like some time, years to have that like capacity to be able to train in those higher loads. And then a lot of them are also competition climbers. So they train for something completely different. You don't need, as a like recreational climber, you don't need, as you don't participate in competitions, you don't need to have like, qualifications in bouldering and lead and speed and whatever in 3 days and then semi-final, final. um, this format, it's just, no, it's just not there. So you also don't need to train that way. And another thing also is like, what we don't know is, and this would be nice studies to have, it's like, if they like would train like a bit different, wouldn't they be at the same place or not? It's like we don't have these studies yet in climbing, so we don't know what is like the best way to train, you know? And it's just what I see a lot is also in other sports, where it's like I grew up like track and field and like semi-professional soccer player. It's like, Jesus, how we train, it's just completely nuts. Also this like what a lot of coaches now call junk mileage. It's the same in climbing, was the same in soccer. It's like when we went going for like endurance, like we went running or doing stairs, literally puking every training session, which is just completely nuts. It's again like intensity high, volume high, but then intensity not really high, so you cannot work at your speed, agility, which would be key for soccer as well. But then again, like you cannot pack in the volume you need for base aerobic capacity because your intensity is too high. It crashes. We've been always sick, because you trash your immune system and you're literally puking at the ground. So it's just plain stupid to go that way. And you lose a lot of talent as well on the way, because you put that high load, high stress, like you have kids, doesn't now matter which sport, but the seating climbing as well, so you need to train, like this, because that's what we do, like quadruple sessions on ropes, blah blah blah. And kids maybe don't like to puke, all the time. Some maybe enjoy. And I think that's also, again, from an economical perspective, it's like stupid, because you might, yes, a few will maybe make it in the end, that can sustain that really high load. But now, if your talent pool isn't that big, now maybe in the US it's enough, like you have all these kids, and then you just have at the end, it's like two or three dropping out. That we in Switzerland, we don't have that pool, it's like if we do that, we maybe just crush everybody on the way. And it's just because it doesn't need to be that way, because coaches, whatever, have that mindset. It's just how training was built from back in the day. It's just there needs to be always suffering, and it must be really hard, because if people are not suffering, it's not worth it. It's all that mindset stuff somehow getting people crazy. Yeah,
I love,
whatever.
I
That
love.
was a little rant. Sorry for that.
Well, I love how, as you're saying this, I don't know if people can, if the mic's picking up, but you're like grabbing a gripper, like you're doing grip training as you're talking to me
Oh
about
yeah,
training.
sorry.
Yeah, it's just great. I just thought it was hilarious.
It's not training. It's just moving my fingers around. It's like, again, it's like the softest one you get. So it's really not training. Just moving, keep my fingers.
Actually, underrated. Just getting blood flow into things. Just,
Yeah.
I
But you
mean,
see now,
especially,
yes, super low intensity.
yeah, yeah. I harp on this all the time. The value of slow walks. People think it's,
Hmm.
it always has to be these high intensity things. I'll tell you, just doing long, slow walks, just an hour a day. Anyways, I really, that really resonates with me, what you were saying about how we kind of just put people into almost a meat grinder and see who comes out.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, all these kids, like, let's see who survives. And that's our champion.
Yeah.
And gymnastics was really like that. And the reason why I think it's so bad for climbing as a sport is that when we see the success that different bodies have had in climbing, I mean different bodies very distinctly, where we have short, muscular, short, skinny, tall,
Yeah.
muscular, all different kinds. And, I know something I've learned in my climbing is that I really can't do high intensity at high volume. And I can literally go in, do one or two max efforts on a hangboard, and it takes me 15 minutes. I warm up, I do one set, and I'm done. And I know that there's guys who are different and actually kind of do need the 5 sets, and they maybe even can ramp up that intensity as they go,
Mm,
but they're built differently than me. And what a shame if we take kids or adults
mm,
and we say, this is the way, either you survive or you don't. And we're really missing out because there's so many different
mm.
body types that work in climbing, because there's so much different kinds of climbing that one can have success in.
Yeah, it's total unnecessary. And then people also put that pressure on themselves as well, when they plan for their own training. So you maybe don't even have a coach like telling you what you need to do, but you see that, like in social media everywhere, and it's kind of praised in our society as well. And that, again, like that concept of like without suffering there is no like reward, you know it's like, no, it's just, I mean, bad things in life and suffering happens anyway. There is like no point in putting a focus on that one. It's like, doesn't mean, and for myself as well, doesn't mean I don't train hard. That's total misconception, but and I have this like every time with every client the same talks, because it's just how our society is wired and how it's going. This like also this concept of more is always better, and we are never enough. Like you always have to. It's like, no, you don't have to do anything. It's just, but that's another one. But just that more is always better. No, it's not the case as we had it. And then also that like that from suffering, training and suffering, and then eventually you get somewhere. It's like, think that maybe comes also from back in the day, or like from strength. I mean, let's say bodybuilding. It's like there you have these pictures. It's like, yeah, you the last repetition, your friend even helps you, so you just get everything out you have, and that's pure suffering. And if you ever tried that, like going to muscular failure with the last like rep, it's like a little help. It's it's an experience for itself, but again, not for everybody. And it's just, yes, they need it, because what bodybuilders train for is hypertrophy, and the main driver for hypertrophy is muscular failure. So it doesn't really matter if you train at 10, 15, 20, 30 reps, as long as you go like into or as close to muscle failure, you get hypertrophy. And when your goal is to be a bodybuilder, and that's where all like strength sport, like um, or a lot in the media, is coming from. Yeah, and there you need the suffering. But when you want to get strong, there is more ways to get strong than only via hypertrophy. So no, there actually doesn't need to be that much suffering. Still, trying hard is key. But it's the intent, like the climbing as well. I really want to do it, and not the kind of like go hard in training when it's about to fight fatigue and stuff like that. And that's, I think it's an important distinction what many people get wrong. It's like, oh, you don't train hard. It's like, hard training, it's not about getting trashed and like walking out of the gym barely able to walk anymore. That's what we did back like 30 years ago as well, because we did knew better back then, because we only had these training concepts of trashing ourselves. And of course we got better, we got stronger. I mean, imagine we went, like the first gyms opened, like imagine there was a time there have been no climbing gyms. The first one like opened, and we went in. It was just amazing, like like bouldering walls we had at home, little woodies, whatever, but not like big commercial gyms with like routes to climb. So we went rope climbing, and after we got total trashed, we went to the bouldering area and kept hammering. it. It's like, just whoever listens, just don't do it. Okay, we know way better now. It's like you don't get any gains out of it. It's you might injure yourself. That's the only thing you set yourself up to. But we thought that would be the way to go, because again, suffering and feeling trashed, and so that's good. And and again, it's like, no, it's not that. If you enjoy that, if this is what makes you happy about climbing, then yes, go for it. That's another thing. It's like, don't, let other people say what is the way to train, the best way to train. There's so many, we had, approaches how you can do it. There is just more efficient and more effective ways. But I think in the end, it's really key to figure out for yourself. It's like what really gives you joy, what works for your like environmental circumstances where you're at, and then go that way. Don't let me, whatever, um, like tell you you must do this. It's all just suggestions. Be open, try stuff, find your own way. But again, it's like there is like more efficient and more effective ways than like what we did back in the
Well,
day.
and yeah, yeah. I want to tease out that little bit of what we really mean when it comes to strength and intensity, because I think this is an underrated thing where it's hard to put out all of your effort in half a second. It's actually I enjoy Olympic weightlifting. I don't know if you ever seen those guys doing the snatch or the clean jerk, because they have to generate all of their expression of strength in literally just microseconds. And in climbing, it's something that people misunderstand how hard it is to muster all your forces for one move, that little tiny move. And to me, that's a really good expression of strength versus when you start having to do hard move after hard move after hard move. I'm not saying that's not difficult. It's just different. And one does not necessarily lead to the other. Although I would actually argue that oftentimes absolute power output, that ability to really try hard and have strength in that moment, is one of the better lead dominoes to train, because if you can't reach a certain level of output, then you may just be stopped on the move. But if you can, then you can always kind of fill in more endurance along the way. And does that make sense? That definition of power or strength?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, and you see that, it's like with with like lead clients in climbing the same, but it's like every lead climber knows that. And it's like that's also like where I'm coming from, classic like alpine climbing to sports climbing, and now I ended up bouldering, just as well because it fits better with how my life is organized, more efficient, more effective, and just what gives me the most joy. But you see, with a lot of climbers, especially when they're more experienced, it's like they very rarely it's about endurance. It's like when you climb for quite some time, you get that pyramid, that baseline fitness in. Let's say you do it for 5, 10 years, you have it. And then it's always the hard move that stops them. It's like to progress, to finish a project. They fall on the hard move. Very rarely they just pump out. That happens too, of course, but and that's also usually just a function of the moves are too close to your limit and you start to fail. And yes, and when you get stronger and when you level up, and that's what I see with my clients too, yeah, just make them stronger. And then they go back, and then it's just not at 80% of their max anymore, because it's just at 40 now. They just cruise it, literally. Like, hey man, that's the feedback I get. Like, hey man, I just cruised it, like the crux, I just kept going, and okay, it's done. So yeah, cool. Okay, that's how we go. And I never have them do like four routes in a row, triples, quadruples, blah blah. It's like, but again, it depends what their goal is. But as you say, yes, it's like it's easy kind of to gain the fitness, but it's hard, as you say, to like at a certain level to get stronger and to have that higher like strength, then the higher power, and then it's like build the necessary fitness.
I will tell you, I have managed to fall off of maybe V0 moves when I'm so tired after after either a crux, maybe more on rail
Yeah,
climbing. That's kind of fun though. Honestly, when you really dive that deep, Feels kind of good though too. Well, okay, I got to ask. I know that I'm kind of jumping ahead potentially, but we're talking about limit moves that maybe are you get people get stuck at a stopper move, whether they're pro climber or not pro climber, and because you're someone who has experience projecting at their limit, what do you do when you get shut down by a move?
Hmm, really good question. Pants a lot on the climb and on the move, I think. If it's a power endurance climb as a boulder, then it's in the end, yeah, a lot of my projects like tend to be power endurance climbs because it's like bigger lines usually that I'm attracted to, and it's just I like to move like more than just one move. It's maybe my background from route climbing. I still like, to have a nice choreography of moves and to do a few moves in a session, to have like a decent workout, whatever you want to name it, then you're back at that, like feeling a bit fatigued, but really working on that one so I don't trash myself anymore. And so then it's really about like building up that like strength endurance so I don't power out anymore, so I can like keep the power output and don't fail. And over the years I figured out for me and then for my clients as well, it's like methods to train that so you don't lose that power, that you can go with whatever, just a 5% power loss for like 1 minute, and then it's different strategies you can apply. It gets harder when it's a single stopper move, um, because when it's then pure about strength, coordination, power, but a lot of times it's also maybe tactics if it's a really hard move, so it's like conditions need to be on point, or maybe you need a different pair of shoes so the heel or toe sticks a bit better. That can already make like a huge difference. Maybe it's like your skin, also totally underrated, like friction. So your skin in correlation to what are the conditions the weather is doing, in correlation to um, like what kind of chalk you use, to just have a little bit of a better friction there, and then to work the moves on the project with a power spotter maybe, so you learn the move and then make it progressively harder, like progressive overload, so it's less help. It's a big one because if you only try a move and it's just desperate, you don't learn really, you just fall. It's like, okay, hold the position, get into the position and see how it feels, and then have somebody, yes, helping you and work the move um, in isolation. That's a big one. And resting enough. Like a lot of people I see, we are all psyched, so we try, and it's like, yeah. Next ID, chalking up, try again, and after 10 minutes you can go home, because you're kind of done, and your skin gets bad when you try again and again. It gets soft. It's like when you would hammer a piece of meat to make it tender and soft. You just hammer around on it. So if you do the same with your tips, like no wonder they will look like a tender piece of meat after like 10 minutes of non-stop hammering. So it's a good one to go out with friends then anyway, because you can share beta, saves you skin and everything, because maybe it's just micro beta too. And you can, like, you need to take breaks because they want to climb too. And so you keep that skin going there. And ultimately training, as everybody's talking about, then we go into stuff like general strength and conditioning to just level up, obviously. And then getting specific would be the replica thing. We see nowadays with the pros, which makes a lot of sense because when you train in another part of the world, or whatever, you can train on a project. It's way more efficient and effective in a lot of times than to spend time on the road.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I find this topic really interesting because it's I often see in less experienced climbers where they are trying a crux move and they just can't do it. And then someone more experienced can come along and just say, "Hey, have you tried heel hooking here?" And then all of a sudden they can do the move no problem. And I worry sometimes, even as I'm more advanced and I usually don't miss obvious beta, but I don't know if I always have the best framework for tackling a really hard move, sometimes I just think, oh, I just need to try harder. Oh, I just need to get my fingers stronger. And it's hard to tease out when that's actually the truth, and it's not just something like friction, or did you know what I'm saying? I wish there was a simpler framework that, but it's climbing's complex. Each
It
move is
is.
complex.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, but I'm sure, when you experience the same when you climb for a bit. We all had this kind of moments where you place your foot just like literally this much more to the left or right, and you just and then it clicks, and before it was little impossible, and that's that's great moments for me. It's like one of my best moments in climbing is like when I like find the perfect beta and be able to solve a puzzle or link a few moves in a nice way and choreography. And this just takes time too. It's just part of the process as well. And it is tricky. And also, maybe if you try a boulder for a few seasons on and off, like you're changing as a climber, and then you maybe think you have the beta, you come back the next year, you changed, and then you maybe it's worth to be persistent, of course, with your beta, but maybe another way to do it that felt impossible a year before now is very much possible, because you maybe got way better on underclings, and now you can like really pull on the undercling and stuff like that. So I think with everything, it's important to have like a clear idea of what I want to do, and this is the way. And now, I like want to train to get stronger for that. Um, but then also like still have this kind of mindset, growth mindset of like, yeah, but I'm still open, to try stuff again every now and then. And I also personally, for a lot of years now, I rarely climb a boulder with the same the same shoe on my left and right. It's usually it's another one on the left than on the right. It's some moves. If I have a heel or toe hook, I literally can't do with a different kind of shoe, and the other way around. And for a friend of, and I had this more than once. We tried the same boulder and it was the other way around. It's like he couldn't do it with we had the same shoes, but like I couldn't it I couldn't do it, and the other way around. So if I just had like imitated what he would have been doing, it just felt impossible. Like my toe would slip all the time. So I took another shoe, toe just no problem at all. With the heel hooks the same. And this can really be 0-1, like impossible to very much possible. And for him, he was the other way around. He couldn't do the move with the other shoe, and stuff like that. And also these days with a lot of beta videos, that's another interesting discussion. It's like, yeah, of course, it's nice to already know the solution and can speed up the process, especially when you're on a trip, especially when you don't have a lot of time. But it also can kind of like cloud your like your ability to find, and because that's a skill as well, you have your own style, you you like have your own strengths and weaknesses, and if you have this idea of how you must climb a boulder, you never really try sometimes like what you would do intentionally, what would fit for you best, and you think you need to do this big lock off move, and you never look around and see the heel hook, that never uses because of whatever reason. And so again, it's like when to use it, when not. Yes, if you're like in a hurry for whatever reason, then might use it, but then still like have this kind of like be open and don't think there is only that way. And maybe every once and now it's nice to try a boulder with no clue at all, to like especially like work on that skill, because in the end it is a skill again to also find your own beta. And again, like I climbed for a few years with a really strong friend of mine. We had the same height, size, climbed the same grade. So you would think that we would climb the same project in a very similar way. Even same body size, ape index, everything. Like no, complete opposite. Like I literally never could do the crux move of our project the way he was doing it. And then I usually figured out some heel toe crazy stuff, whatever, because I'm lacking a bit still that like raw power. And then he tried my beta and he was just like, no, that's just, I can't, you know? So it was not his style of climbing. And so, yes, keep trying, experimenting.
Yeah,
You,
underrated skill to really build your own intuition.
mm,
But you know, you're never going to really be able to tackle the hardest things without understanding how you like to climb things. But I want to say again how I love that thing you were talking about, those moments where a subtle change unlocks a move and that feeling. And I love that feeling as well. But I also think that something that can be really helpful there is if you're climbing with someone and they are doing a move and you just think it's, oh, they're so much stronger than me, they're amazing, ask them to try to show you that micro beta that they're using, because sometimes I felt really good. I've had that same epiphany where a friend was doing a move that I thought was impossible. They showed me really exactly what they're doing. No, it's this crystal. Like you really need to get this crystal perfectly. And then I could do the move. And it really was mind expanding because I thought maybe, maybe I'm not too weak. Maybe I'm not so bad. I'm just
right.
missing things. So I want to go back to that naysayer idea and talk about these really hard projects, because I know that you haven't, it's not like you started climbing and then we're climbing 8C, you know, 8Cs. And I'm just wondering, like, did people come up to you and were you vocal about like, hey, I want to do Dreamtime. I'm right now I'm a 6A climber, but Dreamtime looks good. You know, a famous 8C. You know, did you ever encounter that where you know, what lets you have the mindset that you could continue to progress throughout these decades?
Mm. Yeah, maybe total different that many people would think of like when they just see me now, you know, like what I climb and what I do, because it was like not at all. I was coming from a way different place, and it all started in like my childhood, and it didn't really start out well for me, not at all, because everything I did was or felt always hard for me. It's like I saw others, my friends, my peers, and that was cool, that was sports, just everything they normally picked up easier and faster than I was able to. And I seem to always had to like put in or needed to put in more effort and needed to struggle more. But we nowadays know from research that the like really successful people in life and in sports, it's that kind of like experience that you need to struggle and to overcome like struggle and resistance, and then you really can like start to like continue growing and progressing. And because you see that, and I've seen it too, like with talents, you know, and in every sports it's like when everything comes easy to you, it's like you never really had to work. Like we had like such a guy was like when I was playing soccer the same, you know, he was like such a talent, just that feeling for the ball, you know, I just never had that. I was so like, man, I want to be able to like play with the ball as he was able to, you know. But for him, it was always easy. And then it's like we're like getting like to the like junior second league, like not first, but second highest league in the country. And so it was getting more intense. It was not just about, you know, being able to play nows. Now there was tactics and more physical, like more physical style of and playing soccer. And then he was just kind of hitting a wall because he never learned that it was hard for him, that he needed to put in work, and like that he got shut down. And he kind of broke, literally. Like he couldn't make that step anymore. And I've seen that in climbing too, with like junior world champion in climbing. And it just then it only gets you as far, but to make the next step, it's just not enough. So in retrospect, if I'm even glad, but man, I tell you, it was a hard time as a kid, you know, because yes, in school, my teachers told me, like, yeah, if you like really give a big effort, like you maybe get through like school, but you will never be like, and like student university, just forget about that. You will never be there, and I was like, interesting. Okay, why not? Because my friends, obviously, they somehow managed to do it. And then it was really, for me, it was key to understand, because I was playing a lot of soccer and just playing, love to be outside. School was, yes, you learned some funny stuff, but being outside was more fun. Playing soccer was more fun. Just, and then it's just like, oh man, I have a problem here. So I need to work more, like, so I did sit down. I started to learn like French. That was my big thing that I struggled a lot with, but math too. And then I suddenly did understand, like, oh, in math there are concepts, there is a logic. It's like, oh, this works, And then French as well. It's like, okay, you just have to like get these, words into your head. There is no other way around. Again, it's maybe more effective or efficient ways to do it. But the key moment was, I did sit down and I put in work, and then I saw things changing, so grades went up. It's like, oh, interesting, and in the end, I went to uni, and now I even teach, like I have a master degree, and now I teach at university, and it's just, yeah, thanks teachers, like, no, I don't show the finger now, but it's interesting, and I see that as a teacher, like, um, teach for years at high school and now at university, see it again and again, like how experts as teachers are, it's like they're coming students in, and then it's like, yeah, this one, that's really like brilliant student, he will whatever, but this one, is just lazy, that he will go nowhere, kind of, and I'm always sitting there and it's like, interesting, you're really sure, because, and that's another flaw of our human brain, like, it's, our brains always want to predict into the future, but they're really bad in doing so, statistics, if you take whatever, you can't extrapolate from the past into the future. It just, if there is a black swan moment, like the turkey, for 100 days the human was really nice, and if the turkey extrapolates, his life will be brilliant, serving food and getting bigger. At day 100, the same nice human comes and game over. And so you never know what happens in the life of a human being. So never judge. You don't know what they're going through, where they're coming from, and you don't know where they're headed to. It's like, it will never be how you, whatever expert you are, predict. So just whoever tells you what you're not supposed to do, or what you cannot do, it's like, yeah, take it as an information, but then just, that's just the best guess they have. They basically don't know whatever, you know. And so, yes, for the moment that might be true, but it doesn't have to be true for whatever comes, And then it was the same in soccer as well. It's like, I played at the lowest league, and I just loved the game. And then at one point, the kids from the other teams just wanted to fight, and they came drunk, after like Sunday play, Saturday, the guys went out, came to play drunk. And I was like, I don't want to go into a knife fight after playing soccer. I just love the game. And so I was looking like, so who's playing the game? Oh, obviously the, like good ones, like, and then I was just calling the coach, of like one of the, like, coming from nowhere, just, calling a coach from a top team. And he was just like, yeah, just come by, like, show us what you can do. And everybody at home told me, you crazy, like, you will be home in just no time, because what you want to do, you can't. And I was just, bye bye, guys. I go, I see what happens. And of course, I didn't get into team number one, but they put me team number two. And I was like, already, playing them so much higher. Like, all my friends at home were like, and for me, it was, yeah, that was already like quite a success, not where I really wanted to go. And then, as every in life, you need to be a bit lucky too. They had like not enough players in team number one and a few red cards, and so they needed somebody on the bench. So like, I could go sitting on the bench, was all like super happy, like, whoa, now I'm at the bench. And then again, lucky again, like it was like 8-1 for our team 5 minutes before the end. And then the coach was like, now, Martin, go, show me, show me. What can you do? So I got 5 minutes and it was the happiest 5 minutes. I went nuts for the 5 minutes, like puking. And I thought, like, okay, I got my chance, the 5 minutes, that's enough. I was already like grateful for that chance. And after the game, he took me and it was just like, hey, man, we still have not enough players. Come again on Wednesday. I came again on Wednesday. They had a play 5 minutes before the game started. It was like, yeah, you play from the start. I nearly got a shock. Like, what? It's like starting 11. Took me 10 minutes. Scored my first goal. Another 10 minutes. Scored my second. I was in the team. And then I traveled all of Switzerland with the car. We played in the big, stadiums, still juniors. But if I wouldn't have had tried, it's
Yeah.
like whatever chance comes, if you're not ready, you can't like go through the door. And again, it was never the goal, as you said, to climb or to play there. It was really just the love for the game and just like I just love to do it. And then in climbing, I make it short, the same. Like, man, I started with 20, basically, barely managed to get a 6A route climb. I was no talent and I knew it, like I would lock off and then pull with my right, my left leg would hammer the wall, just while locking off, like, and you could hear in the gym, like, Martin was again here climbing. Why, that's so much fun. And I just wanted to do it. And again, people told me, like, you're too old. What do you want to do here? And I was just like, yeah, I want to go nowhere. I just want to climb. And then just one after another, and I saw these big lines and it was just, man, I cannot do it. What do I have to do, to be able to do it? And that then really got me into it. But it was always this like big inspiring goals, and I fail, I can't do it, but then I learned, from back in the day as a kid, like, oh, I can't play with my left foot, I only can play with my right foot in soccer. So I just went out after school and for hours hammered my left foot, like for weeks. And nowadays, then my left is better than the right. It's just, I've seen other guys doing stuff, and I was like, yeah, I have the same brain, the same body, whatever. It's just should be possible to at least come close and climbing the same. It's kind of, yeah, they are doing it. So why shouldn't I be able? So just go out and try. And it never worked. you know, it never worked. I always get hammered. But then I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I just come back, like I adapt, I try to learn. And that's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
I think that it's got to be the thing that's the most important for mindset. And I don't know. I just don't think it gets said enough. I want to be very explicit when it comes to climbing about not projecting into the future and understanding where you are and not letting even yourself tell you that you can't do something in the future. Because what I hear you saying is if you're trying to be the best and you climb V14, you think you're stuck, keep going. If you have that same thought at V3, keep going. Like it's just, you don't know what the future holds. And, it's important for me to hear this because, like I said, I'm good at giving myself the out card because I'm like, oh, I'm past my prime, I'm 38. But it's the same thing where I'm telling myself I'm saying no. And I want to take this to the boulders specifically because I guess I I like this idea of making sure that you show up, work hard, learn from your mistakes, and repeat that process forever. And you don't know what will happen. But do you ever think that you've bit off more than you can chew, or do you ever have clients that say, hey, like I just started but I'm going to start projecting Dreamtime even though I've only climbed 6A, but I want to get on 8C? Like how do you know when maybe you've stretched yourself too far? And do you also how do you make sure that that doesn't ruin your mindset? It's like, hey, Joe, I know you want to try your Dreamtime, but let's get you up. I'm trying to think of an easy climb in Switzerland, but let's try to start here and build up to your future goals there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, really good question. It's also It's like how much time, then in the end, like what is like efficient, effective, like how many days, you would then want to spend like hammering one project. And yeah, just I always tell like it's like don't do what I do, and I mean it, seriously, like because I'm at a way different place than another person, and I didn't do that all the time. Again, as you said, you like Ondra didn't came into this world and climbed 9C route and 8C plus Boulder. It's like no, that's not how it works. Even for the very best, it's like some are a bit like takes less time, some it takes a bit more, but there is no way around. You need to spend some time if you want to get really like good at something. And when you start young, obviously that times comes earlier. It's just when you start late, it takes more time. But in the end, it's like, oh, they start at when they're 3 years old and then they climb 8C when they're 20. So that's 17 years of climbing. So if you start at 20, that means like 37. So, and then things get into perspective. And obviously, when you're young, you're picking up stuff way easier. So the process is like speed up. When you start later, it usually takes more time at the back end. And now, as you said, if somebody wants to throw him or herself like on, let's say, dream time only climb 6A, say, yeah, of course, do it. Of course do it. And that's so many people get intimidated by grades in like on the top or on the low as well. It's like some people see a beautiful line, check the guidebook, oh, it's only 6A. I don't climb it because I only climb 7A or 8A, and you miss out on a lot of like beautiful lines. I had that in Rocklands a lot. Didn't really like back in the day the harder climbs, painful holds, whatever, strange moves for me. But it's personally, I'm spoiled spending so much time in Ticino and Magic Wood. But I love the easier ones, 6A, 6B, 6C, 7As, up to 7C. It's such a great time. And so don't please, miss out just because it's not the grade. And but then on the other side as well, I see so many people seeing an inspiring line and then, oh, but it's too hard for me. I don't even try. It's like, no, what you have to lose, it's not even sport climbing where you need to put up bras, just put your pad, grab the holds, try moves, have a power spot, maybe even put a rope. That's what all the pros do. Why you shouldn't, if it's higher up and it gets a bit scary, and just have a look. And you learn the most when you start to struggle and fail. Because when everything you jump on just goes, oh, it's easy, it's easy, it's easy. Yeah, you get stronger, okay, by just like having a certain stimulus. If it's hard enough, yes, you progress, but not in that way. You only really start to understand it's like where you struggle, where you have a low hanging fruit. It's like try something. And then it's like, oh, it's like I can't span, like my shoulders are too weak. Oh, interesting. And then I'm not like beating myself up. Well, I'm just not strong enough, my shoulders. No, then it's like, yeah, perfect. Now I know what I need to train on. Now let's get those shoulders strong. And we know these days how to make shoulders stronger. It's like on or off the wall, and then go to work. So it's that kind of mindset that it's like see failure as an opportunity to learn. Of course, when you fall down at the last move of your project, I mean, I don't go around and celebrate. It's like, oh, so much fun. I fell off the last move of my project. Best thing ever happened of my life. Especially if it's a 10-year project. No, of course not. But still, in the first moment, yeah, you're maybe angry and frustrated, and it's normal. It's a normal reaction. It's totally fine. Let it out. Like, I scream, like, curse around. There is even new research out that shows when you're literally cursing, like you are like you have a higher power output. So you're scientifically legitimated to curse while climbing. Um, no, it's really like accepting that, let it out, but then like after whatever 10, 20 seconds, I mean, kick the rock and you have immediate feedback. This is not the solution. It doesn't help you. And then it's like go back, analyze, like, okay, I came down, But anyway, you don't have to whatever make yourself, whatever, because you tried the best you could. You literally cannot do more. So there is nothing to complain about. Kind of, you did what you could, and that's you should give yourself a high five for that because you can't do more. And then, like, oh, now I got an information like I'm lacking somewhere, and then go and search, and
Hmm.
it's like adapt, make that better, and come back. And now obviously for dream time, if you don't have the level and you jump on it and you cannot do a single move, but that was me, like literally 20 years ago, like when I saw dream time the first time, we just had to, we couldn't hang on a single move, but that was the information. Oh, it's too hard, so of course then you don't run back if you can't do a single move. But then you have the inspiration and oh, it's crimps, there is maybe the dino, and then you already know. So, okay, I need to get stronger on crimps. Oh, I need to, get better on a dino if you want to do it that way. And then you take like stepping stones to work up there. But I think the most important thing, it's like don't let, because climbing should be fun, for most of us. It's But even if you're a pro, but then it's business and things maybe change a bit. But for most of us, it's like we have a life, job, whatever. So it's like climbing should be a fun thing to do. It might not be always the same fun, like there's maybe certain levels to it, but generally it should make fun. So don't let other people tell you what you should do or must do or shouldn't do. It's like, oh, to be a real climber, because I heard all that, to be a real climber, you have to do this, this, this. You're not supposed to do that, 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 stuff like that. It's like, what are you doing in these low balls? There is only high balls. That's the real thing. It's like, don't listen to these people. Just don't. It's like, if you like low balls, that's super fine. Just Fred, Nicole, one of the most accomplished and like bouldering pioneers and strongest guys ever out there. It's such a like kind human. It's like he has a saying like close to the ground are often the hardest problems or moves, whatever. So just hammer them with a quote from Fred, shut up. It's like go for what you like, because that can be really fun move, and it's like solving that puzzle. And if it's high balls that attract you, yeah, then go for the high balls, but just make it in a safe whatever setup, please. Just don't let yourself do stuff you don't want to do.
I like that ability to just say, hey, if Fred says it's okay. And it makes me think of this video of him doing right martini. You've probably been to Waco at some point. He
Mm-hmm.
does, right martini. And as he's topping out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, quite an easy top out, he stems onto like a adjacent boulder. And I know that people have complained about that, but they're totally missing the point of what Fred was doing out there, where he, didn't care that he
Mm-hmm.
touched the boulder to the
Mm-hmm.
side as he's doing the easy touch. That was not what he was there for. He was there for his joy. And I want to emphasize what you're saying there, or at least what I'm hearing, and make sure I'm getting it right. It sounds like if you're going to stretch yourself, or be inspired by something and try something that's maybe outside your typical ability, it's crucial, because without trying something that's quote unquote too hard for you, you can't find out what you're even lacking. You don't even know where you're missing something if you're just always staying in your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like that, tying that in with the love of something, because I just think that it's very hard to bring out the best in yourself when you're doing it for someone else's reason. And I just think that's a really interesting thing to tie it together. It's find what you're inspired by,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the grade, and you will learn something about yourself, and you will learn where you need to struggle by uh, by
Yeah.
by hitting your head
Yeah, very,
against the
very
wall.
important
Yeah.
concept. And then also don't even listen when even a big name comes up with whatever quote, like what is supposed to be, again, like it's like, no, you're not doing it because of this person. It's like you're doing it because of an aspect of whatever you're enjoying it for. And that's very valuable, just because the other one, including me, whatever, it's like, no, there's no authority there. It's just what they like. You may be different. So don't just go for what you're, so even that, it's like, if you enjoy, just being out there and just be playful and do whatever, and you don't want to get out of your comfort zone, and you don't want to push, and you don't want to like progress, that's perfectly fine. Yes, do it. Like, then don't listen to people telling you there is only growth outside of your comfort zone, blah blah. Just no. It's like you have a limited time and resource in your life. And when you go climbing again, it's like it should be fun. And if the fun for you is to just chill out with your friends, have a good time, and just enjoy nature and move a bit around, that's perfectly fine. It's like, I think people get so caught up that they always need to progress and always need to get better. And then if they don't, progress anymore and don't get better anymore, and if they don't top out, then they run into big trouble. Like, then climbing starts to get like stressful and they get frustrated. And I think that's real pity, hurts me. Like, because again, like, they started out, they had a lot of fun. We talked about it, font. It's such a beautiful like example. Like, you see family gatherings, it's like they just take the grandma and the baby, the toddler, and then they take a picnic. There is food, wine, cheese, and they just head out on a Sunday, Saturday, and they just have a picnic. And then the grandma even, plays maybe a bit around on a slab, whatever, and maybe the toddler on the side, and there is maybe the young gun or whatever that tries something harder, and then two guys just chill out and have a glass of wine and a bit of cheese. And I think that's how it should be. And there is no judgment, for the people just having a good time and don't want to progress. And I think that's this pure joy. Keep it like this joyful experience, and don't let this kind of like, mm, our society always, that focus on progression and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, you don't have to. But if you enjoy that and if you want to do that, then this is perfectly fine as well. And then try and explore that. And yes, and I think that's really key, because again, it's like we tend to, and I see it a lot, and it makes me sad when people that started for the love of climbing, being out in nature with friends, whatever, that sport, and then at one point get so stressed and frustrated because they try and train and then they start to stall. And yes, I work a lot like then with these people, and it's not about training plans, then it's about mindset. And it's maybe the most rewarding of my job as a coach, that's like got that like one feedback of a female client that she was able to send the project in the end, but she was like, what she liked most about the coaching and what she thanked me for was that she had like joy again. That was her words, like, that I can experience joy again while climbing. And it's like, yes, yes, that's what it has to be in the end. And I think that's key, you know.
Yeah, gosh, I just want to go to Font now and drink wine and
Yeah.
cheese with my family and just climb on those beautiful boulders. That is such a good image of joy.
Mhm.
I think one thing that I hate to take what you just said about finding joy and morph it into progression, but I think that something that's really important to tease out there is that people who we all look up to as being amazing examples of whatever it may be. Maybe it's Alex Honnold soloing El Cap or super hard bouldering, whatever it may be. Those people found their way, and in finding their joy is how they actually reach the pinnacles
Mhm.
of their expression. And so if you're just trying to be just like Daniel Woods and Crimp, just like Daniel Woods, you're not going to do it because he's doing himself and he's doing it to a level that you can't obtain because you're not him. But the good news is you can be something great in your vein of love of the sport. And I love seeing people progress in their style. And I mean, like you're saying, you do not recommend people a project like you do, but you do because you've followed your own path and it's led you to a certain kind of success that only Martin Keller can have. And I think it's hard to, I think it's hard to really deeply understand it. And I wouldn't say I totally get it either. It's just a good reminder that find joy and achievement actually follows that, not the other way around. It's not you achieve
Mm,
something that makes you happy, but happiness leads to what you are,
mm.
think you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, and that's a really important like distinction because when you only get happy when you achieve something, and you might don't achieve, so let's say you don't get to the top, then it's basically then there is no happiness, and that's what I see a lot, and that's just such a shame, in the end, because you can have the best day out there. You're out there with friends, you have a good day climbing, blah blah, and then you don't get to the top. Now this day was a waste of time or what? It's like obviously not. Yeah, and yeah, be inspired by other people, and maybe also your motivation and whatever expression changes over time. But yeah, I think it is key to find what really is your kind of happy place for the moment. That can change as well. And then just see, go with it and explore it, and yeah, take up inspiration from the other sides. But yeah, try to focus on the roots, kind of. Try to, I always ask my clients, like, the first thing, it's like what did you like about when you started climbing? Why, did you start about climbing? And not one person, whatever grades, have everything from like beginners to like 8C bouldering, 9A route climbing, whatever. Not one, not once came the answer like, I wanna, like tick a certain grade, or like always send. No, there comes like, oh, I like to be like problem solving, like I like to like push myself or be out with friends and like touching rock and stuff like that. And then over time, it sometimes a lot of it goes into this like, oh, but I can't seem to finish the project anymore. And then it's really about like working on the mindset. So as you say, it's like more like coming back to like what they enjoyed so much about climbing, because it's still there, they still climbing, they do that, you know and so to put that out again, so it's more about again like the pure experience of climbing. And then it's like the sending goes maybe a bit in the back and focus there, and then, oh, then the sense come just by itself. and that's the funny thing how it
I got
goes.
I got to ask just because we're on this topic, do you have any climbs that you did not send, send top out, perfectly, and that you maybe have let go, but that you like remember fondly? Like, does it eat at you, or do you have any that you're like, I had my wonderful experience on that boulder, and it's not going to happen for me, but that was still fun. Do you have any of those?
It's a good one. um, no, I I have just two left that I put a serious amount of work in and I didn't send yet. One is over a decade long project, and
Wow.
that I was so close on sending last fall, and then I like injured myself. So that was super close to send. And another one I put a lot of work in, a lot of, like super hard for me, and I got super close to send, and then footholds broke twice, and so I couldn't finish. And okay, now I opened the third one, but that's just 2 years now. That's just it's I don't even talk about like a long term project. It's only been for 2 years working on that one. But that too, like I got really close. Then foothold broke, the same, not me. And now it's just felt harder, and I'm not sure if I can go back to these because it really, it's like stressful for my hamstrings at the end range, and it seems something that it's like not too healthy for me. And I really have to be mindful now how I approach this, because I would really like to finish them for different reasons. It's like the one in Magic Wood is a total anti-style. When it was first ascended by a friend, I could do nothing on it, like just physical strength not there. So that was in my like early late 20s, early 30s, and then now with 45, I fell at the last move, and with my early 30s, I couldn't do the single hard move. So just physicalities and how you still can progress. But that one triggers the end range. Maybe I can do that one too. But yeah, I have to make a plan for this, because obviously I don't want to like re-injure myself. It's just not worth it at all for me. So I have to find a way around. There is no real different beta for the ones, so it seems I have to kind of level up enough so I can send it quickly. There is no other way around. It's like I need to there get stronger shoulders, lock off, and like build my strength. Not what I usually do, like off the training wall, to not trigger that one. And the other one maybe too, because that one triggers again like my end range, and maybe don't get that one done because there is no really other beta. But maybe yes, there is one. We will see. But if I have to let them go, yes, it's kind of sad because I was close. But then still, I could climb the sequences and moves that have just been impossible before. Single hardest moves for me. It's like what I avoided back in the day and now went back to, because that's basically what's left. At one point you have to face the weak spots. And that was an amazing experience for itself. Just be able to do those moves and sequences, which have been totally impossible like years before. And that's the process I actually enjoy most in my climbing. It's like when I can unlock the puzzles, when I find this micro beta, or also the physicality of the move, such as the man, yes, I am stronger, than like 5 or 10 years ago. And so I linked the moves. I had this like fun moments, and very often in my projects, that's my best experiences I have. Actually, then sending them, it's not usually the best experiences I have, because it's really then sometimes turns into a big work, um, just to be then there and show up and put in the work. So that's more of a mind game and this kind of persistence, and then reframing my brain so it doesn't turn into like a must and frustration, and still has like some fun component. And that was key again. It's funny. It's like, it's, can I say, if I wouldn't have found that kind of transition in mindset and different approach to tackle those projects, I wouldn't go anymore. As I said, like, it needs for me to be fun, what I enjoy. And if it's not like something I enjoy anymore, I don't go anymore. Can be like short term as well. Then you just go to another project. And that's something people ask me as well. How long should I try a project before I abandon it? Or it's like I go to somewhere else. It's like, yeah, what you want to do. It's like what you enjoy. You want to spend 4 or 5 days, and that's what you're willing to. And then if it's 10, you feel like you don't really want to do, then just don't. But if you want to spend more time, but your brain somehow, like doesn't like the idea, your unconscious brain, but you maybe want to do it, then yes, we find a way, so your unconscious brain
Yeah.
supports you.
Can, can we go into that more? Because I'm the kind of guy also where I this is terrible to say, but sometimes I know I can do a climb. I
Hmm.
do the move. I'm like, oh, I can do this. But then I often struggle to complete it or put in the time, because just because you can do it doesn't mean you are doing it or that you've
Hmm.
done it. And yeah, what are the tricks to, because I just, it's not so much, I understand this idea of just doing what you enjoy, but I also, I do like completing climbs.
Hmm.
It's just maybe like the time. Anyways, I think it's important to complete climbs. I think I always say this: success begets success. Like I encourage people to complete things because it leads to completing things on the
Mm,
next step. And it's
mm,
why I'm sure you've had this thing where when you kind of send a what we call like a warm up project, and then that day you often send your real project. There's something about getting that ball rolling. But yeah, what are these techniques that you use to bridge that gap between and make it enjoyable versus adversarial with yourself, between knowing you can do it and then actually
mm,
doing it?
mm. Yeah, it's a really good question. And again, I think it depends really on the person. Okay. I think that's really important. And then again, to stress um, many different tactics, obviously you can put to work. It's like, and again, it's like it's good to know different ways how to tackle a problem, and then find the way that works best for you, because it's not for everybody the same, obviously, and now, and that really depends also where you're at with your climbing, and what you want to focus, willingly. Again, it's like when you are in a place like, yeah, now I really, like, spend some time sending some stuff, so I have like put in the work, I have a decent pyramid, built my skill set, and now I really want to push here, because that was me. I didn't like started out projecting 100 days from day one. That would be completely stupid. uh, Whatever, but no, really. No, it's like, I remember, my first like V11 8A Boulder took me like 4 or 5 sessions. That was a long time. I remember that was a serious project, even for me. 4 days. Now I can laugh about it because we just kept climbing, kept, as you said, the momentum going was perfect. And then I just had these like bigger lines, and I was just like, man, but I really enjoy climbing on them. Um, so I just stay longer because, I enjoy climbing on them, and I don't, I'm not able to finish. So, okay, it takes more time. And as I'm not earning anything with the sport, blah, 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 I don't need to tick, tick, tick. As again, I said, like I had my ticks, my base, but I really enjoy those moves, and I really enjoy climbing on them. And let's see if I can like link it together. And then I spent more time. And so 4 days could do it, And then first, I think 8B, V13 I did. And that was like, took me like 3 years maybe as well, to go from V11 to
What
like
were they? What
V13.
was the
Yeah.
8A and the 8B? Which ones were they?
Octopussy in Magic Wood. It's like a famous like V11. And the first V13 was Magic Wood was, I can't really remember. It was the same season. I think it was like somewhere in between. No, 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 no. It was what was it? Steppenwolf,
Mm.
or
Oh,
it
that's
was
good
like
looking
One
ones.
Summer in Paradise. I cleaned like that one up, like and then did the second descent of that one. And I think for that one I needed like 7 or 8 sessions back in 2007, maybe. Yeah, so like 3 years in between. 8 sessions. Okay, so not 100. And you see a pattern there, maybe. And then for my first, like, then V14, V15, it was just doing this. It took like disproportional more effort. And that's just how it goes. The closer you get to your limit, it's like the more time you have to spend, the gains get like smaller and smaller. Just how it goes.
I'm curious. Now, when you go back to do, or I go back to do it, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there's still V11s or 8As and
Mm-hmm.
8Bs that you go and do. Are they? Do they take you less time? Like, has the time that you spent climbing on these 8C boulders, uh, has it translated to your ability to get lower boulders
Yeah,
done quicker, more quickly?
yeah, a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, a
mm.
lot. Yeah, because again, it really, when you try to when you try to do stuff you cannot do, like to learn that skill of really giving it all you have. And I really, that's one of my maybe, like superpowers, but got me troubles, like ripped my hamstrings off because of them, because my brain, it's like, my doc just today told me, it's like your muscles are too strong for your pulley attachments, so I ripped them off
Mm.
the bone. So it's not just a plus, but it usually is
Your
if you
doctor
can
told you
go
you're too
hard.
strong.
Yeah, I maybe should
Yeah.
put him on the record. Yeah, that would be nice to have. But in my legs, man, I would like, but maybe not. You don't want to be asked, but it happens, you know. People rip the biceps tendon because their
Yeah.
muscle is stronger than the tendon attachment. And that's not fun. But no, it made me stronger. I mean, in between, I flashed V11, rarely do flash climbing, but in Waco, like power of Landjäger, that was one of the best like experience ever because I saw the line in pictures. It's just a dream. And then I walked up to it, and at that day I didn't know we would be in that area. You know, I was on a tour and we were just like warming up, moonshine roof, and I didn't know Landjäger was there. And we just walked to the roof, and I turned like around the corner there and just like nearly fell off the rock there. Like the line looks so much better, you know, even like such a beauty of a line. And then we warmed up on Moonshine Roof with the group, had a lot of fun, and I wasn't really planning on climbing even like on that boulder that day. But then two guys have been there, and I just watched them from the top, and they had pads, and so I could watch them for an hour, you know, trying the climb, and I got a pretty good idea. Haven't seen a video before, but I saw them climbing in it, and I was like, man, this looks like really this could be my style of climbing, and I just had such a good time in Ueco, and it was maybe after 10 days climbing, getting used to the style. And I felt good kind of on the warm up, and but it's not the same climbing Moonshine Roof and Landjäger, obviously. But I was just walking up to them and just, hey guys, can I have a try? You know, like, can you let me know the beta again? And they gave me a spray, and I was like, yeah, totally, you know, and I liked it, really supportive. And so, yeah, I chalked up, set up, and nearly fell off the top. Like, Jesus. You know, and the nerves come into play, like big holds, but smaller footholds and a bit of dynamic move. Like, don't miss it, you know. But no, it was beautiful. So, yeah, being
Oh, that's
able
a
to
good
do
one.
that, and
That's a really good one.
and oh, I go back to old projects as well, you know, because there's sometimes part of new projects, you know, like I only climbed the end, and now there is like a stand or a sit, and then I have to link it together. And yeah, it's cool. You come back and you can do your old project as a warm up, basically, you know, or advanced warm up, and that's cool to see. Like, not many people do that, obviously, for several reasons. Going back to older hard projects, but I had a really cool moment when I was trying, like, you know, training for before I injured myself, like training up to get that big one done. And I was literally doing laps in V13 and V14 parts, like this existing boulders that took me quite some effort back in the day. And I was at the point where I could just put out like reps on them. And that's pretty cool with like 46, you know, whatever. You're like, oh,
It's
okay.
amazing.
Yeah. But that's the body, you know, it's a lot about coordination, way more than people maybe think. It's strength, it's the one thing,
What
but
climb?
so
What
much
climb is it?
about
Can I ask you?
it's at Sustenpass. It's like a Prester Hase, and the other one it's Ill Thrill. There is a stand start woven hand like 8B, and yeah, could do like 5 6 laps on that in the end as a training boulder. And yeah, that's cool. You know, when you're training for something else, and then you have like you can like measure. Yes, there is like obviously progress there. Yeah, so that's
So
pretty
you
cool.
keep saying this, and we didn't go into it. Sometimes I just it's an important topic, but I hate talking about it. It's injury. You hurt your hamstring. You pulled it off the freaking. You pulled the tendon off. You had to get surgery. I really don't want to make you relive it, and it's something that we all go through. But I'm curious about how you deal with something like this, something like a big major injury, because there's the adversity, there's the long term mindset, there's the joy we're talking about, and that all sounds great. And then you get hurt and you're out for three,
Mm,
6 more months. Like, what's your self talk like when you get hurt? What's your self talk like when you're in rehab? I mean, you still
mm,
present very optimistic, but I oftentimes what's really going on behind the scenes is more difficult than we put out.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one, and it's like, yeah, just just don't get injured. Because it really sucks for everybody, I think. Obviously, for obvious reasons. We all love climbing, and when you get injured, you can't climb anymore. And it's for everybody that's hard. And so that's also why, I had like two big injuries. So I actually managed to do the same 10 years ago already. So, like the second big one. So, the good thing was this time I knew what was coming, but the other one is also I knew what was coming. So, I'm not fond of surgeries and sitting at home and not being able to move for 2 months and stuff like that. So yeah, but I think the first one really is there can be done a lot, to prevent injury. And I think it's not paid enough appreciation to it. There's a lot of coaches like Eric Hurst as well, always stressing it like, hey folks, whatever you do in training, don't hurt yourself. And he's so right, especially when you're aging, it takes longer, to recover from injury. And it's a hard balance, because yes, we want to get, like when we want to progress, yes, you have to go with higher intensity or higher volume, like you have to stress the body. So you get those adaptations, and then it's a fine line sometimes to not overdo it and like provoke injury. But we know a lot now, way more than we used to back in the day, how to prevent. So you can at least be mindful about that and like not provoke it, in a more or less whatever stupid way, because it's like in mindset, it's kind of shit happens anyway. So that, but there is no point in like focusing like to amplify that even. So do the best to prepare to minimize the risk. So when kind of shit hits the fan, you're ready. Like the same mindset for injury, everything. And I think for injury prevention, it's really key. What I like personally, always mindful, especially in bouldering, like when a move feels tweaky to you, for the fingers, for the shoulders, for the knee, it's like listen to your body. And when it feels tweaky, don't do it. It's a simple rule. Sometimes hard because your friends are maybe cheering you up, you're maybe in a flash. That's also why I'm a bit like with flashing, it's cool, but even me, I'm getting so excited and I can dig really hard. And I can dig as hard as I hurt myself, like proven twice now. And so I'm like, because I love climbing, so I don't want to be out of it. And so really be mindful when something feels tweaky, don't do it. Find another beta. Maybe for your friends, it's not tweaky, they have another like body composition, whatever, their shoulder. Sometimes same move, total fine for you. Maybe your shoulder locks, it just feels awkward. Like try it. But when it feels tweaky and with holds, it's like you have that, like you can tell a lot of times, don't do it. And that saves you from a lot of troubles with the knees the same, and hamstrings. It's a big lesson I had to learn. Like if it feels like your hamstrings lock, don't push through. Just don't. Just find another position, because there is most of the times. Just opening the hips helps a lot of the time. Just open the hips and then you can do the move. Find another beta. It's like don't push it there. And when you start to feel that it's niggling, like your hamstrings or your biceps or your finger, then maybe change the project, because that's another one I had to learn. Like, and that's critical also. When you hit the same movement pattern, stressor, too many times in a row, even I take a lot of rest, like I climb like not more than 3 sessions a week. Even with that much rest, it can be too much when there is repetitive stress, and that maybe was a thing now with my current injury. I changed the Boulder, man, but it was the same stressor, like end range, right foot too far away, whatever, and that maybe was a part. Or it's your finger, always like getting triggered here. There will be an inflammation at one point. So that's also why it's maybe not a wise idea to spend 100 days back to back on the same boulder. That's for many reasons it doesn't make sense. And injury will be one. You will stall with your progress. You can organize. That's what I do, like train in the boulder, so you can prevent the injury. If it's a longer boulder, it's a power endurance boulder, there's many sequences making up a boulder, so you climb different boulders in one boulder, so it's not repetitive, not always the same move. That will make it already more safe. But that stuff, okay.
So I caught some flack for saying one of my best tips for injuries is don't get injured. Like people,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really important thing, and I love
Yeah.
what you said. Where if it feels tweaky, it's
Mm-hmm.
because it is tweaky. So don't do it. I
Yes.
I, I mean that there's still we will all get injured from things we don't expect, but it often that's some of the best stuff. Like where Eric Hurst was saying don't get hurt training because you're
Yeah.
training. You control all the variables. Do not get hurt in a circumstance. If you fall off from a hold breaking and you roll your ankle, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like life is going to happen.
Yeah, it's important. It's really important. It sounds so dumb, kind of obvious, but I see so many people not following that. And it's like I had niggles too. That obviously happens, but serious injury, that was like two in 10 years, and that's been these two, especially because I really am like, oh no, no, this doesn't feel right to me, not doing it, like finding another way, because there is usually another way around, but there's just so much. Let's just do something else. And and yes, that's really a big one. And when it
So
happens, that's then another story, like what you
I
just
do
did.
want to. Yeah, I do want to get into that, but also just because I know you've been around. I mean, you've coached people at some of the highest levels, and you also coach people at a bit lower level. Everybody is different, but is there anything when it comes to preventing injuries other than just not exposing yourself to injurious
Yeah, of
moves willingly?
course.
Like, is there any exercises that you would just say, hey, like 95% of you out there, like this is one that would help reduce injury risk?
Mm. Yeah, the biggest one I see, and that just goes so nicely into what we talked about already, is like people doing way too much all the time. So it's not only not making you stronger, because again, it's too much volume, not enough intensity. It feels hard. You're fatigued, but doesn't make you stronger. And that's a big concept I had to learn like the hard way as well. And I wished I had learned it way earlier. And then the other thing is, when you're fatigued, you're also way more prone to injury. And the problem is with these days, with all these boards we have and so many people climbing on these boards, it's like, and I experience the same now as I'm like rehabbing, I'm spending a lot of time now indoors. It's like I have to be really mindful on these boards. And I just managed to like seriously injure my wrist the other day, like was lucky
Oh,
it didn't,
sorry.
because of the holds are just compared to outdoor climbing. It's like your skin is, you can go for so much more volume. And I think one of the things that like also kept me away from injury was because I was like climbing mostly outdoors, because that's again like what I enjoy most. I know it's not the most effective and efficient way to get to the top of a boulder, but again, it's like not what I really want to do. It's like I want to be outside. We have such beautiful places. I want to climb on the rock there. I want to spend time there. That's what is my main driver. And then getting on top, yes, it's nice. That's the icing on the cake. And again, also you can train outdoors as well. So you apply a certain structure, how you like um, go through your session. But again, the main I think difference is like skin just goes down way faster. The holds generally are way more open. Like yes, I full crimp a lot too, because that's where I feel strong. And but it's just you can't do as much volume. There is less velocity usually. So if I jump to a hold, most of the time I would just fall off. So there's way more like movement, is more control and skin issue. And now I go inside, and I can basically do the same amount of climbing in like a fracture of the time. I don't have to shuffle pads. My skin is compared to outdoors perfect. And I just don't need to walk around, blah, blah, brush the holds. Yes, but it's not the same effort as outdoors, So I can do like double the volume I do. And the holds are tend to be like as crimpy ones are more positive. So I just can't snap, and even though I'm fatigued, I'm still hanging there. But I'm already fatigued, like so it's just passive tension. I'm just hanging in the structures, fingers, shoulders. And but I keep going because I feel like, yeah, I still can climb, because I still like can climb. I'm hanging there. And then people compared to with a lot of velocity, because jumping on the boards, basically all the time. And this combination is just recipe for disaster. It's like when you start to get fatigued, there is high velocity. It's just a matter of time. It's like till something breaks. And that's just what happens, pulley injuries after pulley injuries after pulley injuries. And that's so, long story short, avoid to climb hard stuff when you start to get fatigued. And I know this is hard, it's really hard, especially indoors. It's easier to do outdoors because your skin just will give up. And but it helps in a way that kind of like it is injury prevention, but it is also how you get stronger. Like I've always with my clients, like the big thing we have is like if you just take one thing, it's like from the physical stuff, finish your session strong. And this will guarantee you, like having like trained with a high intensity, you have worked in the strength area, so you will get stronger, and you reduce your risk of injury a lot because you don't keep going while fatigued. And it is hard, man. I have the same, like every time I'm like, should I stop or should I keep going? Because there is need certain progressive overload to have these adaptations going. But back in the day, I was pushing out just my. If you have a few notes, that helps, So last time you did 5 sets or 6 pulls or 7, just do the same or one more. If you don't feel up to it, one less, it's okay too. It's like when you pull on the wall and you don't feel strong anymore, and every climber knows how this feels, that it's just climbed for a few months even. It's kind of, you can tell. And maybe you have to do 2 moves. That's how I usually do it. I rest. That's another one, like rest enough so you don't get fatigued as fast. You have higher power output for longer. Um, I pull on, I do 2 moves, and I'm just like, oh, this starts like shoulders giving in, fingers. And again, it's hard for people because they think it's like training hard means now I have to overcome. Like with my mind, I close the grip again. I just no, this is not what training hard means. This is fighting fatigue. You don't need that if you want to get stronger. Basta. Route
Gosh.
climbing, it's a bit different, okay, but just leave that for a moment. But with this high intensity stuff, it's like really just stop, stop, basta.
Yeah, I feel like you're speaking to me right now because when I look at my last week, I've been just well, I postponed the podcast because I wanted to go out and ski because there was a big
Mm,
storm, and I don't know if you can tell I'm getting over being sick, but it had snowed, and so I needed to get out for the powder, and I have a big climbing session this evening, but I've been telling myself you gotta be careful. Like tonight, you gotta be careful. You've been pushing it a lot, and I something
what
that
did you
I
end
just think
up to
is
do?
for the skiing.
No, you went skiing and then you
Oh
said
yeah,
you wanted to train. So what?
oh, tonight I'm going to climb. I have like a big board session at my buddy's house tonight, and I just
Mm-hmm,
keep telling myself that I need to be careful because I've been pushing, pushing, pushing.
mm-hmm,
Because sometimes there's weather windows for this was for skiing and there was snow,
yeah,
but you know how that goes with climbing too. You say,
yeah,
"Oh, I need a rest day," but it's perfect temps tomorrow, and then it's a storm, and
yeah.
so you have to show up, and it's hard to balance those things. And so I'm just I'm just hearing you in the back of my head, like, okay, be careful. And like,
Yeah, but now not just be careful. Now we take this really now as a little case, because that's what a lot of us face. Exactly that. It's like things don't go to plan. As you said, you still want to train, but you had the skiing. Now, yes, of course you can train, but now how to train? Like, yeah, what do you do now? Because you can train, but you have to kind of adapt the training you know so how would you
yeah.
adapt now, because training looks different when you have a skiing day or a non-skiing day, or should look at least. So how you
Well,
adapt?
personally, what I do is I really do tell myself it's a consistent conversation in my head before I even show up. Like, hey, I don't care how you feel when you get there. Just remember you've been pushing hard. But then when I'm there, I keep reminding myself, and sometimes I even say it to my friends so that they kind of hold me accountable.
That's
Like,
good.
I'm tired today,
Hmm.
let's keep it a little short. And then when I feel myself get over excited, I just
Hmm.
try to just take it down one notch because
Hmm.
it's not that you can't still try hard, and sometimes you have really good days on those days you
Yeah.
don't expect, but maybe it's that I'm getting older. I hear a lot of what you're saying, and how I often have to cut myself off in my training sessions because I love what I'm doing, and
Hmm.
I have to stop it early. It's almost like when I feel really, really good and then I pull on, and I hear you where you go, oh, I don't feel so good anymore. I actually really have gotten better at just stopping right there. And something I just want to point out, why you're such a great coach, is that when coaches can, it's very easy as a coach. Not, I'm not a coach, but I've been around a lot. It's very easy for coaches to make you tired. Making
Oh
someone
yeah.
tired is very easy. Making someone better is very difficult. And so yeah, that's my little microcosm of how I'm going to handle this. But I love what you're saying about fatigue is just fatigue. Getting
Yeah.
better is what we're trying to get at.
Mm. Yeah. And I like it. It's a very good approach, like, yeah, talking, like if you're around with friends, because that can also be, yes, you get excited, your friends get excited, you can feed on that energy. Like some people really start to thrive, and just can leverage that. And another thing, if you know that you like working that way, then yes, then get your friends to your climbing sessions, because you will have, like the ability to like have go for higher intensity, makes you stronger, makes you send harder, then get those guys going, of course. If you work different, then you work different. But I think what it really is key, it's you could measure it actually. It's like if you have such a force like measurement device, you could do just a pull, and you would see how, just from the ground, like an isometric pull curl, and you would see like the numbers go down with your session. So you could, if you're somebody, like engineering mind, blah blah, that needs to see the numbers before he maybe gets a feeling for it, then climb a boulder, like rest for whatever 2 minutes, make a short pull, check the numbers, rest for another 1 2 minutes. And when you see, this happen, then that's the kind of break off point, because now you're starting to get fatigued. And it's really hard to find a moment, because I can have a pretty big session, like a hard session, a longer session, go hard, and then I still can go to like my 20 mil edge, or 23 on my like problem solver hangboard, and I can do a one arm hang for whatever long. I can pull a one arm pull up. I rarely do it, but easy at the end of a session. But on my projects, again, with the open holds, I can't like actively pull anymore. If I try a move, and that's what I say, like what really helps, like prevent this kind of overdoing. It's like, man, I try to move, I just can't anymore. The body tension is gone, the active tension is gone. I'm falling off. What is still here? It's this passive tension thing. So on a better hold, in cut hold, I can still pull. I can still go. Yes, but again, it helps like to conceptualize in a way. It's like if you keep going, it will not make you stronger anymore. And that helped me shitload because it's like that's what my interest is. Yes, obviously I like to climb too, okay, but man, after a 90-minute session indoors, it's like okay, to call it and head back for dinner, family, whatever, work is waiting. So I'm actually fine if it's a 90 instead of a like whatever 200 or 300-minute session. And I even getting more out of it. So we're back at the economical stuff, but getting more with less, man, that's what we're all looking for, aren't we?
Does this? So I totally agree. Actually, one comment I was going to make on something like a force meter, I I've played around with some of this more quantification or tracking my sleep, getting my HRV score in the morning, seeing if I'm overtrained or just
Mhm.
how I'm doing. And I gotta say, I have mixed results with it where I I think sometimes like data is very helpful, but sometimes because it's imprecise and climbing is so complex too, that sometimes it can hurt me where it tells me something that I'm not feeling. And maybe it told me I had a bad night's sleep. I've actually seen some research on that where
Yeah,
if you
big
tell
one.
someone you have bad nights, a bad night's
Yes.
sleep, then you feel worse, even if you had a good night's sleep. But so there's that. Actually, no, I forgot what else I was. Oh yeah, yeah. So I understand this idea of cutting off when you feel fatigue, but I also want to.
Before you feel
Yeah,
fatigue.
sorry. Yeah, there you go. Before, but what about when someone's newer? Because something that I've noticed is that when people are younger in whatever, well, they can be younger, but also in whatever sport they're doing, they're not strong enough mentally, coordination, physically to even tap into all of their ability. And I just wonder if it's something different where can you climb for longer into fatigue when you're less experienced? Does that make sense? Why I think that could
Mm.
be a possibility?
Yeah, definitely. And it's just by nature that the holds will be even bigger and more positive. So you can actually go even way longer, because man, I loved like pocket climbing when I started climbing, but big pockets, like because I could like big holds and I could pull. I was physically always strong, kind of. So I could use the bigger muscles. I wouldn't need to crimp on a small hole. If eventually the pockets got smaller and I was like, ouch, now this starts to hurt. So again, self-regulation. But I definitely see that. Yeah. And that's, can I say, it's like, of course, or for sure, it would be helpful to have somebody more experienced that kind of can tell you, it's like, hey man, it's just stop here. Um, and just, but when you hear people talking, coaches or on a podcast, like, and you just start, it's like, already know that concept, and being mindful gives you a clue and then a cue, like when again, even if it's bigger holds, you will come to the point where you start to feel when you pull on even bigger holds, it just feels harder, like a lot harder to get to the wall. And you maybe try a move and you repeatedly miss the hold, or your foot pops, and you will start and you will get a feeling of what it means to feel fatigued. It's on every level. Okay. And when your intention is with bouldering, you want to get stronger, then this is the moment to just, okay, it's done. And also, another one, don't then start, keep going. That's what many people do, warming up. Then you try the hard stuff, and then they keep climbing. Fatigue here hits you, fingers open, everything opens, and now they're like, yeah, now they keep going, choosing easier routes because they want to do more. It's like, if your goal again is you want to get stronger, put the easier stuff into your warm up, then work up whatever then intensity level you want to go, but then you maybe do one, two more, leave. Like, don't like travel down on the other side unless, okay, you're training for like real capacity, blah, blah, blah. But then I would do it personally different, then I wouldn't hit here if I go for like basic aerobic capacity, then I climb on 4 or 5, like 20 minutes on the wall, stuff like that. But it's like, don't. An easy thing would be, man, set the timer. It's like 90 minutes, and if the timer goes, training is over.
I gotta say, I also, just to provide some realism around this, like I totally agree with what you're saying, but I also just want people to be okay with they're going to the gyms, they're hanging out with their friends on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, and they have these sessions that are probably too long, and like that's okay too. Like, don't get
Oh, of
injured, but
course. Yeah.
it's like, because there is these, bring it back to that joy. Like, there is getting better in climbing, and then recognizing that you're just climbing and enjoying it. And I am very guilty of spending 4 hours at the gym when I was younger, and maybe it wasn't optimal, but I wouldn't say it was wrong and bad either. It was just joy, just
Yeah, of
having fun being
course.
there.
Yeah. Oh
So I
yeah,
didn't
it
want
would
people
be.
to feel bad.
Yeah, no, you're very right, because it would be a shame, and I had this conversation actually just last week with another client, and she was like, it's like I would like to get better, progress, and train, but man, if I can go climbing with my friends, and then I'm supposed to spend time just, doing hangs or weight work, whatever, that's just not for her. And it's like total fine, of course, then we find a way. You can climb with your friends, just applying a certain structure to how you climb with your friends. You will can train very efficiently and effectively on the wall as well. It's actually what I like the most too. And so we find that way. And of course, it would be a shame, like as you say, I have the best time. I enjoy these climbs so much. And I still have something in the tank and I would like to continue. But man, I just quit, kind of. Um, no, yeah, no, because me too. Of course, you have these bigger days and bigger sessions when it's just fun, and you're maybe in an area and you've never been or whatever. You're just in such a good groove, and it just flows, and you enjoy yourself a lot. It's just, can I say this? Just don't run yourself totally into the ground. I think that's where it goes. Like purposely, like, man, it's the other way around. It's more like I need to do more to get more out of the training. That's not, that's not the way to go. Like you're total trashed, like, but now I need to go again. That's really not the way to go. And the other thing, it's even when you have such a bigger day and session, what you can easily do is, let's just be mindful to take some rests. Like take your shoes off, watch your friends, brush the holds, support them, give a power spot. Don't go because again, it's like just you get out, you will get more out of your climbing when you take rests as well. My sessions, they are quite long. Usually when I go hard, it's like that's powerlifter stuff. 3 4 hours in the gym or on the climb, but I maybe only did 5 boulders in the end. Um, yes, the balance, I think it's key, of course. But it's like many people are not mindful about it and they think they need it. They kind of need it to get better. And that's just healthy, I think, to know. No, you actually don't need it. And
I got Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna ask, just because I get this question a surprising amount, where people are getting coached and they have a very strict plan, and then something happens. Well, here's the actual question I get asked, and I think it's a great little example. Is there's a group in the gym that comes in, and they're the strong group, and you have an opportunity to climb with them, but your plan says you should be, doing a 4x4. And my spoiler, I've encouraged people to climb with that quote unquote strong group and break their plan. And I guess the meta question here is, when is it okay to break your plan? And yeah, for what things is that worth breaking?
Oh, very good question. Yeah, as well. So first of all, forget about the 4x4s. That's another one. Um, Not in the, yeah, whatever, that's a tangent, but I think it's just so many people are into these 4x4s, and Same on the routes, do doubles, triples. It's like, yeah, again, what you want to do. Just think, again, there's like no bad exercise or whatever, but it's just what adaptations you want to get out of the exercise. Think about that, and then does it fit or no, and then you maybe adjust. Okay. But your main question, I think it's a big one. I see that a lot, and I like what you say a lot. If there is like an opportunity, to be able, as you said, to join a group, to have like a special experience that is not like presenting itself like on a regular basis, of course, go off the plan. Of course, always, you know. Um, yes, because it's a unique experience. It's like you might learn or have the chance to do something that is pretty unique. Yes, go for it. Um, but what I see a lot is, like people have a goal, let's say, certain project they want to try, and they go out with their friends, and then it's like, um, whatever, the group wants to go somewhere else, and then you never end up at your project, or you maybe end up with 10 minutes before the park closes, or it gets dark or whatever. And I think there it's kind of, again, what are your priorities? It's like, if you're just whatever, just no, it's total okay and full value if you enjoy hanging with your friends and climbing whatever they want to climb. If this is what you're aiming for, yeah, perfect, go for it. But when you want to go, like, to your project that suits your style, you want to do a certain thing, that's like, that's very valuable too. And I see a lot of people like taking themselves back, for the friends, for the groups, and they never then get to their project, or not when it's, then it's in plain sun. There's like no point to try a sloper project when it's in plain sun. So you need to be there when it's perfect conditions. If you want to like push the grade, if it's dead, what you want to do. And then you maybe need to find a plan to be a bit selfish, like, but then again, usually it works out, and make a plan, it's like, you want to go there, man, but I would like to go there. Now, how can we organize this? Maybe Saturday we go here, then Sunday we go here, or in the day, it normally there is a way, but be mindful about it. Don't just go with the flow. Again, can be totally okay and fine, but I see that a lot of times, and then people end up with 10 minutes on their project. It's like, yeah, but now, okay, it's just kind of you, yeah, and I think that's a big one, again, with conditions and everything, to have your time, and then, yeah. But if there is a
Hmm.
unique opportunity, yes, definitely. Uh, it's
Yeah, the
presenting you,
training.
break the plan. Yeah,
Yeah,
it,
good. Break the plan. I like that.
yeah, because, but that's also how I work with my clients. It's like, I don't usually kind of program in the classic way, like, can be, again, it really depends, whatever the schedule and the surroundings are. But it's like, I usually have buckets, kind of training certain strength,
Mm.
whatever, energy system skills. And I usually am like, hey, okay, we can have a focus, what, for whatever reason you want to focus on, for a like a circle, a cycle or two. But usually it's like, hey, warm up, and then after warm up we see if you how you feel. It's hard sometimes to tell when you come after work, feel fatigued, but then maybe after warm up you start to feel good, or the other way around. So let's say you plan a limit session, and that's just to go now with your session today, go back to this little
Mm.
case. It's like, okay, now there was a skiing day, maybe didn't plan for it, and now there would be a limit session in the evening. Like, and then I would be, it's like, day of skiing, it's just, man, it's in the cold, you move with your whole body. When I'm out for a day of skiing or snowboarding, it's like, all I want to do in the evening, it's like, get a beer, chill out, because it's like, it's just a nervous system. It's also maybe exciting, and it's just then this whole body fatigue. I love it, but it's just, I'm getting slow. It's just what I want to say. Now, if you still now want to train in the evening, I then wouldn't go for a limit session, because limit means you need to be quick, fast, Don't go limit when you're fatigued. That's another one of these basic training principles. You can tag along, So you just adapt. That's what I wanted to ask or press before, like how you adapt your training. You can train, but how to do it the smartest way. It's like, yeah, maybe don't go for limit because, even though you maybe feel strong, but maybe your power is down, means your coordination lacks. You maybe have a bit of
Mhm.
a time lag in not as much contact, not closing fast enough. And then this can get like whatever unhealthy.
Well, and
So adapt and go for an 80%. I say like 80%. So kind of RPE of 8, however you want to say it. It's like you still can go seriously hard, like flash level if you don't know the boulders, maybe a bit below your max, but if you know the boulders, still pretty hard. But it should be in a way that you control the climbing. It's not super desperate, super limit. And this still feels good. Like it's hard moves. You still have, but you can control it. And so you just, you navigate that kind of like whatever risk that's maybe coming up, and it's not productive, like missing all the holds, blah blah, what's this about? And I like these sessions a lot. I learned to like them a lot because it's kind of, you still have to engage, but you're kind of in control, and I like that kind of feeling. I'm maybe with the control guy. It's like, yeah, I like to control my climbing again. It's like a quote from Fred. Climb it that way. And it's great. You feel strong, man. You know, it's not desperate. You feel strong. Like you're in control of your climb.
you're showing that there's like even another variable on like within the session of beyond intensity too, right? It's like there's ways to tweak what you're doing on the wall, or if I'm going to my friend's board, so I can't change the angle exactly. But I also want to tell you how careful I am, and to point out that I am hearing you. I actually was yesterday I was skiing and the day before, so today I'm quote unquote fresh. But I'll tell you what, doing a podcast is a stressor as well.
Mm,
And when I last skied, I skied on, or I climbed on a few days ago. And then I knew I wasn't going to climb again for about 4 days, which would be today. And I wanted to get some kind of finger training in. And I literally just did 20 minutes on the fingerboard 2 days ago to try to do something, but
mm,
it was very low. I mean, literally, I was in and out. I did some shoulder exercises to, more like I basically warmed up my fingers
mhm.
and then said, that's enough. And so rather than try to get in another session, I tried to just get some blood flow, keep it
Yeah.
moving. But I'll be careful tonight. I promise, Martin. I
Mm.
won't. I won't text you tomorrow saying well, I don't know. I never say never. I do my best, but
Yeah. Yeah, don't pedal down. Or, that's another thing. It's like high coordination stuff. Just saying, it's for this high coordination stuff, you need to have like your nervous system really primed and ready. Of course, you can try, and as I said, like after warm up, if you feel snappy and good, obviously you go for it. And if you don't, and I think that's this auto regulation thing which is important. And if you warm up and feel like, you know, then change, like the style of the session, adapt the difficulty of the boulders. As you said, you can change the angle of the board, but you can tweak the boulders, obviously. You can even
yeah,
take the
yeah.
same holds, but take an intermediate, take an additional foothold. There's so many options.
But
And you're still, and that's what many people don't get, it's like you don't need to go limit all the time to even get stronger. That's another of these misconceptions. No other sports, it's like what they say, it's like 80-20. 20% limit, 80% not at the limit. Climbers do it like 100-0, always to the level. Like nobody else trains that way. It's just why? Always yes, going hard. We talked about it, it's important, but you don't. And again, it helps my brain to understand. Oh, you know, I don't need to go to limit all the time, and I even can get stronger like that. Again, I'm like, oh, I did. And like literally, 20 years ago, didn't know that. And I was like, oh, and just to give you an example, like even on the highest level, like that's how I trained on Gateway, that like last V16 I did. I was training on like several weeks, months on that boulder on sequence. It's a power endurance problem. And I was never at the limit. Never. It's like I was in that 80% area. It's like doing 5, 6 moves, strong, hard moves like V12, V13 links, but not limit. And that's how I then, with a few tweaks, like trained myself up, and it kept my strength at the top, even went up. Then I had a way to like build my capacity, and the gains been like insane, literally, like from like being able to have one good try, falling at the last two moves, which is maybe V15, whatever. In like 3 months, I was falling down 4 times on the last move. So from 1 to 4, it's 60 seconds all out climbing. So it's pure power endurance. Not once I was getting pumped. Not once I was operating at my limit. And these kind of sessions again, like if you come like out after a day of work, blah, blah, it's like your brain, as you had, podcast, whatever, teaching, it's just like it has been taxed. Now to push above your limit all the time, like starting from the ground and just grinding and it's like that's not so much fun over time. You don't feel strong. You always get hammered. It's like, no, that's not that I want to have my sessions. So, no, I was going there and, feeling strong, not going to the limit, still trying hard because it's hard sequences for me. Just to give you an idea, of this kind of like, no, I'm not out there always like hammering my brain or my head against the wall and just beating the thing out of me. No, does not need to be. And as I said, like the gains, like I had the plan, but by March, I was like, should I do a fourth try? Like I fell 3 times in the last two moves and I rested, had something to eat, like to take a walk for 20 minutes. I was like, yeah, I feel good, man. Went for it and nearly did it. And it just like nearly fell out of shock, because I was like, this can't be actually true. And just, yes, whatever.
Hmm.
You don't need to be.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what I mean, with like train smart, not just hard. It is hard training, yes, but in a, yeah, just with, let's say I got older too, and maybe a bit more clever.
No, I'm listening. I'm gonna keep this in my back pocket tonight. It's good stuff, and I love this emphasis again on getting better, not getting tired. So, Martin, you've had about a million pro tips in here, but if you did prepare a specific pro tip, can I ask you what it is right now?
Mm. Yeah, it's like the one we already talked now, like don't aim for fatigue, like do hard stuff, but don't aim for fatigue, finish strong. It's a big one.
Mm.
And the other one would be, it's like another one that goes against what many people would tell you, coaches as well. You hear so many times like, people fall down and then you're not allowed to find excuses. You're just not being strong enough. You need to, again, this kind of suffering, you need to train harder, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, don't do that. It's on the one hand that self-talk thing, which is a big one. We just touched a bit on it, but it even comes into play with injury as well. It's like it matters a lot how you talk to yourself. And there another one would be, just without now going in too many details, just talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend in whatever situation you are in life. And this seems simple. It's maybe not. Give it a try. If you keep doing that, it might just change your life to the better. And then going into this would mean, okay, now your friend falls down, at the last move. It's like, what do you do? It's like, you don't tell him, it's like, man, you suck. You will never get to the top. It's like, man, you need to man up. Go one more time. Like, try harder, you pussy, whatever. No, that's not what you do. Man, it's a good friend, It's like, what would you tell him? Man, it's
Oh
your
man,
friend going down. What would you tell him?
that what do I tell him?
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do encourage people to push really hard, and sometimes it's time to pack it in. Like you gotta be careful. You're gonna hurt yourself.
Mhm,
It's about really being there in the moment, and when it's someone you care about.
mhm.
And I love this example of using it your friend, because oftentimes we're not so nice to ourselves.
No,
And when you
no,
really
no.
care about someone, you're able to give really good advice. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, like maybe this is your moment, or maybe, this isn't. And
Yeah,
maybe
and
it's time to
maybe,
call
hey,
it.
well done, because you actually got to the last move. Like, hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
nice effort,
Hmm.
because it actually is. It's not about lying, pretending. No, it is good effort to get to the last move. And again, you tried, so it's all you can. So proud of you, and you can actually talk the
I
same
love that.
way to yourself. And then just to link into that one, it then would be the next one would be, and then please find as many excuses as you can get. Then again, like, no, there are no excuses. No, there's a ton, actually. Now, don't find excuses to excuse yourself from trying or trying hard. It's not about that. Find explanations, kind of why it maybe then still was not enough. And now, why doing that is kind of, actually, I encourage my clients to find as many as you can, because, okay, oh, I didn't sleep well. Yes, I had like a busy day, on whatever, a busy week, maybe whatever was going on. And there was maybe, yes, bad conditions. It's all really, really true. And it makes actually a big difference. Can make, doesn't have to, but can make a big difference in your performance. And now, what this offers, it's kind of not, again, excusing yourself from trying harder, blah, blah, but it kind of, again, like gives you anchor points what to work on, like where to get better. It's like, if you had like not enough sleep, and you can feel that on the project one to one, it's nothing better than that. When I tell you as a coach, sleep is important, blah blah, I can tell a lot. Best is you experience it yourself. You have a few bad nights of sleep, you get to the crack, and you're like, brr. One night usually it's not the problem, but a few nights. And so, okay, then try, to arrange however you do it, but try to get better sleep. For one client, I had to order curtains that were like really dark, because it got like daylight in summer. He couldn't sleep in, he was too busy, blah, blah. So I just, tell me your address, and, went on Amazon, just shipped it to it. Problem solved. And that's all very valuable, and not just sleep. It's not just for your climbing, it's for all of your physical and mental health. And then conditions, man, it is, you would wonder how many times I see even stronger climbers, jumping to a hold that is exposed to the sun for hours, and then they keep slipping off, like bad friction. It's like, yeah, well, you see, 30 minutes, sun is gone. Use a pad to get some shade, whatever. And so, by going through this, and even, when you say, like, yes, I was too pumped, or yes, my fingers open, my crimp strength was not enough, even that, it's very valuable. It's like, yeah, okay, then okay, then maybe it's time, to put work in there, like get better. It was for me like, try dream time, new baseline for years, just not strong enough in my fingers. So, okay, tells me, very valuable, like I lack, so I know what I had to train for. So I was training my finger strength, came back. Oh, now I can do the move. So really, there have been a few. Okay, finish strong, talk to yourself as you would talk to your best friend, and find as many excuses as you can why you can't finish whatever you're up to. And that's not just in climbing, that's maybe everywhere in life. And
Oh man.
that's the path how you then can start to progress and to work and get this process rolling. Oh, yeah, last one. Just enjoy climbing. Seems
Yes.
all so
Yeah.
easy, but easy to say, huh? But sometimes not so easy to
Yeah.
do.
Ah, those are really good. The excuses one really hits home with me, because I told you I usually say the opposite. It's like, there are no excuses. You're here right now. This is it. Like, I know there's things that aren't great, but it's today. But I love how you flip it on its head, and it gives you things that you can work on. It's kind of like what you would say to your best friend too. You wouldn't say like, "You're an idiot, you suck.
Yeah.
Why can't you grab that sloper that's sitting in the sun?" It's like, well, hey, like maybe we need to come at it from a different angle. And I
Yes.
just that's really good. I love that,
But
man.
I really like your what you say as well. With think it's important. As you say, it's like it doesn't excuse you from trying hard, giving your best. As you say, you maybe just have now this hour, the sun is out. So I'm well aware this is like things that are not perfect and maybe you can manage, but now it's just no way around. Then you still obviously go for it if you can find. It's not a way to excuse yourself, but if you can manage those variables, do it. And maybe you even can do it in the short term. As I said, you see this now more with videos coming up. Like if there is sun, yeah, then just put a T-shirt, some tape or a piece of wood, or with the pad, put a pad so the hole is not exposed to the sun, or maybe have a friend when you do the try so you don't have to look into the sun. There is a lot, ventilators, blah blah. It's just all problem solving, and then I think that's such a cool aspect too. We don't have to do it obviously, but it's just so many ways what you can enjoy and find in climbing, and everybody maybe finds something else. And it's just as you said before too, I think it's key to find your way, be inspired and open, and maybe this changes over time as well. um, but yeah, find what really like speaks to you, and also be mindful about it, and bring yourself back to that place. And that might be another one, because it hurts. It hurts when I see so many people struggle so hard. And what I do with clients is then have these mini routines when you're getting to climb and train. It's like a little gratitude practice. So don't just start climbing, don't just start training. It's like when you arrive at the place, just stop for a moment. And because you're really where you want to be, you're out with your friends, you're training, you're climbing. It's like you want to be there, and it's you made it there, and you maybe did invest a lot to be in that position there at the moment, whatever, and that's already worth a lot. And you actually could, we made it, we're here. So now that's cool. So whatever comes now, you're at the place you want to be, you can do what you want to do. If you want to get to the top so bad, it's just, yeah, hike from the back and you're on the top. And it's that. Yeah, enjoy the climbing. It's anyway
Boulder.
artificial. It's like
Yeah.
we start here, we climb to there. It's like get a bigger picture. It doesn't make sense to scramble on rocks. It's not important for what's going on in the world. So get, don't take it too serious, literally. And Chris Sharma had a nice saying. It's like what was it? It was like, if you really want to reach the top, you have to let go of the desire, something to reach it, something in that phrasing. And I always thought like, doesn't make sense, because if I don't want to get to the top, I don't go up. But it makes a lot of sense, when you immerse yourself in, like, yeah, I'm climbing and enjoying that process, and back to the roots, kind of. And then at
Yeah.
once, yeah, suddenly you're up there. It's like, oh, wow, cool. Well, take it.
Well, I appreciate all those tips. I'm gonna literally put them into practice today. But I think the thing that I want to thank you the most for is this idea of naysayers and where I'm at now. I don't know if I have a ton of people telling me that I can't achieve my goals, but the vacuum of not seeing people climb really hard or pushing their limits as they get older, that almost feels that's a hard thing to bust through. And having you, say maybe not even be a naysayer, but a yaysayer, like Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you still have your best years in front of you. We never know, and so
No.
just thank you for blazing that trail. I really appreciate it. And thanks for coming on and sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate that
Yeah.
too.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, I know that you are a coach. Do you do any remote coaching, or is it only available to people who are in Switzerland?
No, it's actually most, like 90% is actually remote. So I have clients from all over the world, actually, quite a few clients from the US.
Hmm.
And actually, also like clients turning into friends over the time. It's like if you work together, for 3, 4 years, and then people visit Switzerland, and then yeah, you spend maybe a session or two, and you just and that's what I like, about that one to one. It's like you really can like connect with people because as we now talked and as our whole experience is, there's so much more to everybody needs a different way and find the own way and we know that from teaching as well. It's like there is no best way to teach. There is so much, studies going on because that would be the gold standard. And but what we know is that teaching best works the better the connection between the teacher or the coach is with the students in the end. And that's what I see me. It's like if I manage to connect, and that's just possible for me in a one to one with the people, like talk to the people, get to understand where they are at. It's like what their passion is. It's like what are family situation, everything, what's going on in life, and then it's like work on everything. Yes, mindsets, nutrition. It's like how is the sleep? What we can do there. For somebody else, it's maybe just training or it's just mindset and just connect and see what works for a person and that's just what I like and I love a
Yeah.
lot. It gives you a lot back as well. Takes also quite a lot, but it's really I try. It's like problem solving again. Like okay, we have a problem here now. How to solve it best? Like find what works best for you and kind of guide them and not just that's what I don't do. I don't just prescribe a training plan. It's like no, not interested in that. It's like I want to bring or coach the people so they're able to then give them the tools, like the concepts, how sessions could look like. So they're at the end, it doesn't need me anymore. That would be like get me out of the equation. So they can do it by themselves because they are like adaptable. They can choose whatever they want to, however they feel, where they want to set. They know these principles. They can build their own training. They have the tools and then we maybe just keep in touch and go back and forth and discuss what works, what doesn't work, new ideas, new trips. They are on a trip now, what to do, strategy, or then they are stressed out, happens as well, mindset stuff. And then we see how we can manage that, and it's just always exciting for me too.
Well, I gotta tell you, coaches, I think are, I mean, they're underrated for helping people progress, but also it's surprisingly important in people's lives. I just when I trace my history as an athlete, especially as a kid, coaches had some of the biggest influences on me, in sport, as a person, as a connection with someone who was older. So I just, I think it's great what you're doing. I wish you had said it only happens in Switzerland because then I could tell my wife that I need to go to Switzerland and go see you. But if people are interested, where can you point them from all over the world to get in touch with you?
Best would be my Instagram handle. You find me under Switzy Bouldering. Should be easy to find. The only one with a crazy name like that. And then just send a DM and then we see it's like what you need, what you will work on, want to work on, and how. And that's the beauty of one to one. It's just you can do anything in every combination. Blah blah. We are not set to a certain schedule or scheme, and it's another like really nice thing to do. Yeah. But
I
man,
love it.
definitely come over
Yeah.
to Switzerland. It's like we talked about it. I think you would enjoy it. And Font is just a like 6, 7 hour drive away. So
Yeah, I when you talk about the style you enjoy and that kind of stronger, less loving of tiny holds and of the more power endurance, well, it's making my hands sweat right now just thinking about it. So I will come and visit. I don't know how soon, but you sure, well, it's got a lot to live up to from all the videos I've seen, but I've never heard anyone say that they've gone to Switzerland and said, "Oh, that wasn't that fun." I'm in. Yeah, I will link your Instagram handle in the show notes and just thanks Martin for all those reasons before. And boy, there was so many threads we could have pulled. And I mean, I hope. I, I hope we pulled the most important ones, but there's always more in climbing, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, you too, man. Keep up the great work you do and bring these more in depth like experiences and like that a lot and appreciate the effort you put into.
Thank you for the kind words, man.
So
Until next time, heal fast and see you out there.
I will be back.
All right, take care.
Cool.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like even more content, go to patreon.com/testpiece. And while you're at it, share this podcast with someone you know who would love it. And please leave us a review or rating at wherever you get your podcasts. We've also got tons of great content on YouTube and Instagram, so don't forget to like and subscribe there. Okay, see you next week.